All right, Maddie, World War III is upon us in the Casper community. Nobody knows what's really going on. We have, Casper topics today, obviously, here with everything that happened this weekend. We also have some surveys, some big surveys that came out just discussing crypto. Maddie, how are you feeling today, though, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. I had a bit of a long weekend in Las Vegas, but I'm doing well. I didn't lose any money, so I'm
Oh,
happy
yeah.
to be here and happy to be chatting with you guys a little after hours crypto stuff here.
Yes, Maddie. So we got good topics today, team. But before we get into it, make sure you're checking out the platform. Become a member. I talk about this all the time. You need to be doing that because you need to be in a community. Because I got to tell you, even within our community this weekend, like I said at the top here, I opened the Discord, Maddie, and I literally thought it was World War III. I thought World War III started because everyone was spamming a bunch of nonsense, and I saw Casper everywhere, and I was like, "What is going on here? Like, did the fundamentals change? Did Casper go to zero? No, none of those things happened. But we're gonna get into it right now. So let's start at the top here. IPwe is undergoing Chapter 11. IPwe, you're going to find out in a second here, if you're not within the Casper community, why IPwe is so important. So Chapter 11 bankruptcy, often used by corporations to allow a business to continue operations while reorganizing its debts under court supervision. This allows and helps the company to restructure its obligations and potentially emerge as a healthier organization. By the way, just a little side note here, IPwe has said nothing. Like on Twitter, they've said nothing. They've been quiet since November. And I'm going to let you get off on this, Maddie, but even with the minting of was it 25 million patents last year, that was obviously pushed back off the roadmap. And so a lot of people thought, oh, is this bad? And I thought I had a smidge of it in my head. It's like, oh, is this but a lot of projects don't follow their roadmaps, or a lot of, this is a partnership here. A lot of people don't get to follow their roadmap, especially with something as big as this. That didn't come into fruition here. So like I said, IPwe announced, it was sometime around actually last year, they announced the minting of over 25 million existing patents assets as dynamic NFTs on the Casper network. So we haven't got any updates from IPwe here. The big question I have for you, Maddie, is how does this affect Casper, and is this the end of Casper?
Well, we can answer the second question very quickly and easily, and that's no, that I do not think this marks the end of Casper. What we have here is what we said, a partnership. And it's a partnership that we've talked about quite a bit because the use case is so specific to what I consider to be one of the most important verticals that needs to be placed on blockchain technology, and that's intellectual property, right? That's what makes up the majority of the S&P 500 right now. So when we talk about, we talk about payments as a big one, we talk about intellectual property, we talk about tokenizing physical items like car deeds and house deeds, right? Those are the use cases that I think are, in my mind, the cornerstones that I will always look to invest in, even over this next decade, because they're things that aren't going away, right? People are still going to want to buy and sell houses. They're still going to buy and sell cars. People are still going to be having ideas that they want to, protect with intellectual property patent, and they want to make sure that that record is not just here in the US, but worldwide accepted, right? So those are cornerstones that I consider very valuable. Like we said at the very top here, Chapter 11 means that you do have the opportunity to restructure, meaning if they had filed for Chapter 7, they would have been like, okay, no, ding dong, the witch is dead. Nothing's happening here, right? We're going to be paying off creditors as possible, but it's going to be at a discount, and that it is what it is. So what can happen here is you can obviously have additional partners come in, buy them out, continue with IPwe. They could restructure and negotiate some of these debts, or put them out on a longer bond to extend the terms of some of their loans to restructure. But I think that it does link up with some of the frustration that we've had in the Casper community. It was really kind of the lack of updates from IPwe, or the updates of them giving us, hey, we got this hard date, and then just didn't come through on that. When you're really just doing most of this on the test net, right? We should probably be deploying more things on the main net in order for us to say, okay, yeah, for sure, this is what we're looking to execute on, and this is what it would look like in a live environment. Obviously we want to start in the test, but at a certain point you got to start at least dipping your toes in the live environment to make sure that everything looks the way that it's supposed to look. So, if IPwe goes down and they don't mint, I don't think that it changes anything for the long-term vision of Casper. One of the big things that Tokenizer posted today, and I thought he did a great write-up, and so did Kevin Cage. You guys can both check out those in their entirety. People I respect and I think had a great take, more granular, extended take than I had on Twitter today of kind of what their thoughts were on Casper, as well as the IPwe situation. But the whole thing is, we can't say that Casper failed in this capacity because we never even got a chance to see the tech deployed onto the Casper network, right? This was a business with poor financial timing and or planning that put itself in a spot where they couldn't execute on the things that they were ambitiously trying to execute, right? Like a dream can't get it all done. So, whether they continue to be around or not, it's not going to change my perception of Casper. We still have IBM as one of the large partners with Casper Network, and they have a few different big subsidiaries under them. Obviously, you guys know Red Hat, who's, does software solutions, software as a service. They own, cloud computing services for healthcare and a variety of other verticals. And again, all things that we know are eventually going to be moved onto some sort of DLT solution. So again, not promising you guys everything that IBM does comes onto the Casper network, right? But I think there's a lot of large conglomerates still dipping their toes into different verticals, and we still have a long way to go with regulation, right? Adoption does not happen overnight, guys. Yes. Last piece that I'm going to add there is, Tokenizer lower in his thread there talks about the adoption of Netflix, right? And their timing just happened to be not so great, and also was kind of in a moment in time where we were bridging from discs over to digital only format instead of this hybrid format, and they eventually were able to make it through. But that's because they were well funded and they seeked out other venture capital, and they were able to stop some of that bleeding short term. But if they didn't have those resources and tools, great idea, wrong place, wrong time. So, I'm not going to be affected emotionally or invested wise based on if IPwe ends up mentioning it or not.
I like that. All right, let's move along, Maddie. You nailed everything here. I don't think we need to sit on that too long. We'll talk about it in other shows later in the week. Crypto Charge Live show, I'm pretty sure Maddie will talk about it later today. So make sure you tap in with that. Let's move along here. Stellar's foundation supports delay of smart contracts upgrade after a bug was found. The anticipated upgrade of the Stellar blockchain introducing Ethereum-style smart contracts may be delayed due to a bug discovered in the software just a couple days ago. Initially deemed low risk, the bug prompted a reassessment following the extensive feedback from the developer community. Maddie, we've seen things like this in the past. Is this really a pro? This like slow integrate to smart contracts? We kind of saw the same thing with the XRP whole shindig that kind of went, I think it was September of last year when that was kind of going on. Or is this really like a con, like things like, there's still hiccups in the road for, Stellar?
Okay, let's take a step back here, guys. We're talking about code, right? And even when I download a game that has had millions of dollars put into it, developers that have been developing for 30 plus years working on this AAA game that people are paying $70 a piece for. You get the game, they test it out, obviously, with thousands and thousands of people who game and know how to try to break stuff, right? And they release it, and guess what? Bugs still occur, right? Like as much as you want to try to map out everything a user is going to do wrong, and I can also attest to this from personal experience, even with just a basic website like ours at cryptocharge.com that just hosts, text and video and, resources and just things that a basic website would host, right? And you go through all these different things and you have a bunch of people try to break it. They can't break it. And you're like, okay, it's good to go. And people will always find a way to surprise you and do something that no regular human would ever do, but it breaks it for them, and then people have issues, right? So it's a good thing that we vet this out. And then the other part of this I want you guys to think about, and I know that there's kind of like the split community, right? Obviously, more than anything, we're here for the investment, we're here to make money, and we're here to also invest in good tech, right? But then there's also the group of people who are like very pro decentralization, and they love that aspect of cryptocurrency, and then they get frustrated when there's a delay like this because they found a bug and they didn't rework it out and then put a new amendment out. People are like, oh, it's never going to happen. It's like, okay, which is it? Do you believe in this decentralized process where we have individual people who can point out issues and propose new amendments to make sure that we don't release something that's buggy that causes people issues, and now we have to spend all these time and resources undoing or patching instead of just making sure that we have a good version going out? Or do you just want the centralized entity to just be like, okay, no, this is how it works, and you guys don't have a single say in it, and if it doesn't work, too bad, right? So I want you guys to just consider those two things. I personally think it's a good and healthy thing, and as long as we have especially coders' input, right, that's what's really most valuable here, and then debugging and trying to run other scripts against it that they've created to see if they can break it, right? That is probably the most valuable portion in the entire development process to a secure and a chain that's going to have longevity to it, right? So I think it's overall a good thing that we vet them and maybe delay things if they're not ready.
Yeah, man, it was funny. It made me think back to like when we started Crypto Charge. One of the first things you said when we got the website going is like, just try to break it. Like, just try to like, not like literally, right. Not like literally like break our system we have here, but like, adding videos. Like, what does that do to the look of our website? Is there something we add that, makes the functionality of the website hurt itself? So this is good because now it's just delayed. It's not like,
right.
We upgraded and now we're seeing these problems, right, Maddie?
Absolutely. It's even as simple as, looking at browsers, right? You try it with all the main browsers and then somebody uses an obscure browser and they have a problem, but you don't have a safeguard in place to tell them like, hey, this browser is not supported. See our existing browsers, just because you're not aware of that obscure browser that they're using. So there's a lot of little things that, we don't consider that could absolutely pop up and, throw you a curveball in your product.
All right, Maddie, moving along here. I thought this survey was pretty interesting just because I feel like, and I don't like saying I feel like, but I do really feel like here in America, we have this very interesting perspective on crypto. It's either like you love it or you hate it. So here's how it goes. 73% of European residents are confident in crypto's future. A Binance survey, so Binance is doing the survey, so the data might be a little bit skewed here because it's coming from Binance. The survey targeting users in France, Italy, Spain, Sweden reveals that around 73% of European residents are optimistic about the future of crypto. The survey conducted last year with about 10,500 participants shows a trend of optimism, exclusive engagement with crypto assets, with the surging adoption and so on and so forth. 55% of respondents disclose that they interact exclusively with digital assets, and 53% are active crypto traders. 53% of that 10,500. I hope these guys are making money, Maddie, because trading's hard.
Right. When we say the word active traders, that could mean a lot of things, though, right? And I think that maybe this fact was also given in the capacity of like, well, we're not going to tell you what an active trader means, right? Do you trade once a month, and that's what it considered, in this survey as you do it regularly, or we're talking about every week, every 4 months? Because if you say, I trade even 3 or 4 times a year compared to the average person, you are a very active trader. But then if you were to say, you're in the stock market and you buy, a couple stocks a month, you would obviously not be a very quote unquote active trader. Most people think about a day trader, they think about the New York Stock Exchange, they think about, guys in white, collared things, with the phones from the 80s, yelling at each other, right? But we don't think about that with crypto. So in this capacity, though, in the bigger, grander perspective of, does Europe have a bigger level of optimism and adoption in crypto than the US? I think that yes. And I think that it has to do with their level of regulation that they've implemented in both the UK and Europe. Now, we're not all the way there, and I don't agree with everything that they've laid out over in those regions of the world. But they have been a lot more proactive in laying the groundwork for helping people better understand that these assets are here to stay and that they want to regulate them and not ban them for the most part. So I do think that there's a level of confidence that comes with that. And that's what I've talked about many times is here in the United States, if we get that level of confidence, at least, the IRS explaining how, taxes are treated, how staking rewards are treated, letting us know how we're allowed to custody things, what makes a broker, what responsibilities that broker has, what levels of liquidity reserves are required, right? Those are the things that start to build confidence in people, because it doesn't become this crazy, shadowy super coder thing, this guy in his mom's basement mining a Bitcoin, right? It just becomes this asset class that people are feeling comfortable to be exposed to. So I think that has been one of probably the biggest, accelerators outside of the US in crypto adoption and optimism.
18 U.S. senators strongly support crypto, new report finds. I feel like this is things that we know, but a lot of this is kind of like bearish, like, looking at this from a bearish perspective, like of senators that are opposed to crypto. So here's how it goes. Advocates like Cynthia Lummis, Ted Cruz actively support the crypto sector, according to the Stand With Crypto Alliance backed by Coinbase. Cynthia Lummis, a regular that you talk about, Maddie, a notable leader in backing the crypto industry, has introduced 8 bills and 184 resolutions during her tenure as a senator. Additionally, 17 other senators are actively involved in crafting legislation favorable to crypto. Now, let's talk about the opposing side. 30 senators like Mark Warner and Maddie's favorite, Elizabeth Warren, are identified as skeptics or against the crypto sector, and they advocate for tighter regulations and expanded banking requirements. Maddie, I don't think you're opposed to tighter regulations, but I'd like to hear, I'd like some clarity on this, because obviously, these are people that are anti-crypto.
Yeah, I think that one of the toughest things about regulation in general and regulating specific sectors is that we're never able to fully do this objectively with our existing system here in the US. And that's because we always have to negotiate for something in another bill that somebody wants. It has absolutely nothing to do with the content that's in this bill, right? So you may have senators that are in here that aren't actually anti-crypto, right? But they're looking to get some sort of bargaining chip to be able to flip for another bill that they're working on, or something that they think considers more important to get more votes for, this upcoming, election cycle that they're looking for, right? So those are things that I always just keep in the back of my head, right? We're not going to get everything that we want in the bill, good or bad, right? And that's one of the big driving factors of that. Now, in relations to, I think that the banking requirements, one of the big things that we were quarreling over when that first one came out, I think it was like maybe even 18 months ago now, it was about the definition of a broker. And I think that that's probably one of the key definitions that cannot get lost in this bill. Otherwise, it changes absolutely everything for us and decentralization goes away. And that's because it comes down to identifying cold storage to some extent. So if we identify manufacturers of hardware wallets or people who own hardware wallets as a broker, now just about anybody who owns any amount of money has to, either register with, some entity, whether it be the SEC or CFTC or another, branch that's made up entirely for crypto, which absolutely could happen, right? I think that, those two sectors have been around a very long time. People are trying to cram, a triangle into a square hole. But I do think that it's important that we do get some sort of definition and regulation around that. So we're able to still self-custody if we want to. And then that brokers that do want to be genuine brokers, right, exchanges can do so. And we can feel safe interacting with them, knowing they're not going to just, run off and take our money. They have the same responsibility as an E-Trade or, Charles Schwab or, whoever it is that you want to do stock trading with, right? You have no concern about them just taking your stocks and up and leaving because the federal government would step in, bail them out, pay you back, something of that capacity, right? So people want those same assurances with crypto.
All right, last news topic of today, and I thought this was pretty hilarious, just because this is coming from an exchange posted a blog. The exchange is Changelly, or Changelly, my bad, and they posted their XRP predictions. So crypto exchange predicts 1,000x returns on XRP price with ambitious rise to $594. Changelly's price prediction for XRP suggests a maximum price of $594 by 2050, along with their minimum and average prices. They were listed as well. Contrary to some bullish predictions, Changelly does not expect XRP to reach $27 in the next bull run. The earliest time frame for this level is predicted by 2033. So Maddie, they're throwing out all these predictions here. Is this even regular by exchanges? I feel like I haven't seen this at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you are like a big fan of spending all of your time and money with the SEC, this is like standard practice. Like I would wipe this from my website immediately, especially as an exchange, because what you are telling people is if you buy this by this date, it will be worth this much money, right? Like this is a stupid way to expose yourself in such an unnecessary way. Let people go down the rabbit holes they want to go to on Twitter and YouTube and, TikTok and wherever they want to go about people, telling you this price by this date who don't really have these big liabilities, right? But as an exchange, and if this stays actively on their website, right, they're putting themselves in a very, very dangerous spot. Look how little the SEC will, gather to take a case against somebody. And even if you win, it's still so expensive. It's very expensive to go to bat with these idiots that we fund, on our tax dollars, right? So, I've talked about many times, I don't do price predictions or at least time frame, predictions, right? Because we can't predict those things. We do try to use the Fibonacci's, right, to help us identify where those next cycle targets are, right? But, that could be in the next 6 months that we had a cycle top and we could, get surprised and the market cycles change, or maybe it's, delayed and it's maybe 3 years until that happens, right? We try to get our expectations kind of in a pocket so we can kind of help, plan out how much we want to invest. But at the end of the day, you can't do it. You just can't. Too many factors, keeping us from that.
Maddie, let's talk about this really quick. Let's clear the air on this because at least I want to clear the air on this. So there is this thing that goes within crypto sphere and crypto YouTube, crypto Twitter, and it's this thing with titling and all this other stuff because we just saw the price prediction by this platform, and a lot of people hate that. And I would love to sit here, Maddie, and want to be a trailblazer for regular titles. I'd like to, spend more time elsewhere than putting it into the thumbnail. But the fact of the matter is we have to do things like this. So I'm not against this whole this thing that this platform's got. the returns, whatever. They probably shouldn't have like gave like this price by this date. That's just lame. But especially with like, if you're doing analysis, right? Maddie, you have showed me so many times, and now I implement into my trading of looking at those upper Fibonacci levels, those extensions. And when looking at those really give you a great forecast for where price could reach up to, as well as retracements going down. And so going back to titling here, guys, I would love to sit here and title a video, "We Love Casper," and let's just talk Casper. That can't be a title. And so I understand this, but like I wanted to get this off, Maddie, because like I'm so it's sickening to have to do it, because I've seen, we've talked about people in the past that do it to an extreme level. I feel like we're pretty middle ground. I'd love to title a video, this price by this date. Do you know how many people would click on that?
Go on
Twitter.
Way higher click through. No, absolutely get a way higher click through. And, I do think it's irresponsible for, anybody in the influencing or educational space to do it. I do understand why they do it. But I think that we've also proven even in the last, 12 months that we can build a true, genuine audience without engaging in this and giving our true raw thoughts without any other incentive. I think the other thing that sets us apart, right, is we're people who are just spectating and looking at all this data, and we're just making an analysis. We're just regular people not giving financial advice, right? But when you look at an exchange, it's a different set of liabilities because you are the person directly selling the crypto to those people, right? I come on here, I talk to you about this piece, I tell you about my favorite project. Well, guess what? Like, you can't even go to my website and buy the product I'm telling you about, right? You would have to go and buy it somewhere else, and then you'd be able to look at all their disclosures and information and what their liabilities are, right? But I think that's the big difference, is that we're not actually selling the product. We're just talking about the products that we're invested in.
I love that, Maddie. A lot of great stuff today. Team, the Ask Maddie show, where you guys get to ask Maddie questions, will come out this Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. So if you have questions for Maddie here, we love answering those questions. Leave them in the comment section down below, and we'll get to them. We don't care if they're, a little bit. If I feel like a lot of them have been very angry lately. I don't know why. The price is going up. Like, stop with the anger, make money. And the thing about it is when you're making money, you should be happy. Maddie, I sold a large chunk of my IPwe this weekend. Nice. A large chunk. And It was so exciting. And then for some reason, like, my world feels like all better. It's like roses are everywhere and everyone's happy. It's like that meme when you walk out of the building and you're just walking past everyone just smiling, and you're like, there's just no care in the world. So anyways, yeah, I don't know. Make some trades, man, or like make some money, because I'm waiting on that IPwe retrace. And I know it's been, my brother was telling me, hey, is it time to sell? I'm like, well, I took profits, maybe you should. And he texted me this morning. He's like, oh, it's up 15 more %. I was like, dude, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. Like, you're already this close. Just take profits, and if you're gonna reallocate lower, just do that.
Yeah, can't hurt to do a little take profit. And it doesn't have to be huge trim. It could be a little trim, but at least if you've had a good cost basis, $1.20, $1.50, right, and you're up here over $3, why not trim a little? Why not pay yourself back a little, and then look to reinvest if the opportunity presents itself?
Maddie, anything upcoming this week? I don't know if it's really a big week because we had like big news events last week, PCE, all those other, but Bitcoin is kind of doing what Bitcoin's doing right now. We've seen some, like altcoins like IPwe move this last weekend, and Ask Maddie show this week. So get your questions ready, team. Anything upcoming this week? Anything big upcoming here? Anything else to share with the team here?
Yeah, market-wise, I think that we definitely need some time to settle and digest a little bit more here. I think it's been, over the last few months, very, very hot and heavy, and I think that everyone's expecting that to just continue, and sure, it could. But, I would actually prefer it if we continue to cool off here a little bit, consolidate a little bit. We recently covered a new project that we're not new to us, but a newer project that has some great adoption that we're looking to get involved with, Helium. So that's one of the things that we're going to be focusing more on over these next few weeks to get you guys up to date and a little bit more educated on the project. But make sure you guys come check us out. We got the Discord in there where we're answering questions, giving trade ideas out. All those live updates in there. We go live 5 times a week here at cryptocharge.com, and we'd love for you guys to at least check us out. 30 days free. Code YouTube gets you half off if you decide to stick with us after day 30.
All right, team. Thank you for joining us. We will see you on Wednesday. Bye.